Clickety clack.
Hey,
are you ready already, Jared? Are you
I'm
ready
ready already. I'm ready.
I'm not. I've got to get stuff situated. I could say other words situated, but that just make it funnier. Go ahead and clink. Don't worry. I'll catch up. New Warriors come out to play. There we go. Heinz Cook asks, "Am I first tonight?" It looks like it, Heinz. It looks like you were first, but Matt Possel joined you, and lets everyone know that he is cooking chicken breast and zesty pinto beans. So there you go. And Jared politely said, "No, cook ribs." And I mean, I gotta agree with him on that, Matt. Chicken breast is depressing.
I mean, I like chicken breast, but I'm in the mood for ribs.
I don't like chicken breast. Like you have to zhuzh it up for me to like want to eat
little chicken
breast.
parmesan.
Right, yeah. a little cracked pepper. Like I just can't do it, man. I cannot. Let's see. Also, hello to Eric Porter. Hello to Linkovich as well. Welcome. Oh yeah, I should mention, I'm not even looking at the script yet, but if you're watching this, please give us a like. We'd appreciate it. Please share it with a friend. We'd appreciate that too. Please follow us. LONGBOX CRUSADE via YouTube. We would appreciate that as well. I'm Delvin over here. You know, I guess I'm the Night Thrasher over there. That's Jared. I guess he's the Nova. And Jared, do you have a question for me and whatnot?
Okay, I do have a question, but it's actually about the book. Never mind. I just solved it. I read that book yesterday, and I could not for the life of me figure out who that blonde dude was. You can see him there on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who is this guy? And I just remembered. He's thief of everybody else's powers, Alex Powers from the Power Pack. Because he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop.
He can't stop. Won't stop.
All right, I'll ask you a question then, because I did have one just pop in my head.
Okay.
The saving grace of this book for me, and we will get into it as we discuss, is Dark Hawk. Yeah. He's so good in this book. He's very funny. He's like the Winston on the Ghostbusters. He's like the guy who's very practical. He's like the audience. Yeah, he's like the audience.
Yep.
So you being a Dark Hawk fan,
yes.
I'm wondering what your favorite Dark Hawk guest appearance is.
I mean, New Warriors is probably it. Because Dark Hawk was very hot at one time. Dark Hawk. And so he was making his appearances, but I don't think he made a ton of appearances. I know he made an appearance over at Amazing Spidey. There was like a 6-part crossover.
I remember that. Yep.
And Spidey made some appearances in his book, which makes sense because the first bad guy that they really tried to set up to be Dark Hawk's nemesis was Hobgoblin. Dark Hawk.
Right.
Jared, just yes. Assume the pause, even if I don't use it. So I can see why Spider-Man was in his realm, was in his universe.
Yeah. Same,
I don't know how much he spread out as far as the rest of the 90s universe, but now he's more of like a cosmic hero. Right. And of course, during the origins of the original run, they explained exactly, where Chris Powell got the Dark Hawk armor from and all of that, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, I'm going off track. I'd say if not New Warriors, then Amazing Spider-Man. Do you have one?
I just wanted to throw that to you because I know that you are much more steeped in Dark Hawk lore than I am. And that honestly, that was gonna be my answers. I was like, I know him from this, and I know him from Spidey. Mm-hmm. I really like him here. Again, he is the Winston of this team, and it makes him a lot of fun. So I do like him here.
And you're saying that the book needed some fun, Jared? Don't answer that.
Boy,
Don't answer that. I already know the answer. Matt Possel, by the way, says that his chicken breast is seasoned with Slap Your Mama. after being marinated. Do you know about Slap Your Mama, Jared?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I hipped Matt to some Slap Your Mama, and he's like, I'm going to give it a try. And so he tried it, and he likes it because it adds a little bit of spice, a little bit of zest, a little to it. All right. Let's see.
Don't feel bad. The Longbox Crusade Network was founded on recipes way back in the day.
That's true.
We don't do recipes hardly enough anymore.
Yeah, it was one of the special things that we did, and some people every now and again would write in or call. No, not call in. We didn't have the voice message at the time.
We got emails.
Yeah, we get emails. They'd write in and they would send recipes, and we actually did cook them.
We would cook them and try them on air. We would try them. Yeah, it's been a while. Feel free to do that, folks.
Feel free to do that, and I guess I'll feel free to carry us along. Let's see here. Come out to play as a chronicling of the 1990 series, The New Warriors. The first volume of The New Warriors ran 75 issues. We're creeping up on 2/3 of the way there. We will cover all of our first volume as I rediscover my love for this series. Help others find theirs and share our love and joy with the listening audience. Grab your skateboards and bucket helmets, folks. It is time to play, and we are talking New Warriors issue 49. Cover credits go to Derek Robertson and Larry Malstead. And Jared's going to describe the cover.
Seemingly. I was busy prepping for some other witticism later on in the show. But yes, the cover. Let's talk about the cover. Let's do that. Let's do exactly that. Okay, let me get the banner out of the way. Or switch it to looking at the cover. Let's get the banner out of the way so we can see it in full. Okay. This is great stuff for those of you listening to the podcast version. Those of you watching live, it made sense. I swear to God, it did. Okay, so we have the still trading card-ish New Warriors border with the triangles. This time it's very white. It's like white, and the triangle is like a dark gray, it looks like. And the New Warriors, which cleverly says the New Warriors, which I think is clever just because it is a new team of New Warriors. And I feel like there might be like a slight dig at the Teen Titans and the Tales of the Teen Titans and the New Adventures of the Tales of the Teen Titans. that book just kept adding adjectives to it there. So, but anyway, their logo is yellow with red highlights, and it's also on a gray, very white and gray background scheme. Across the top, you have time and time again with a little hourglass. Part something. I don't have my glasses on. Sure. Seven.
There we go.
That makes sense because next issue's 50. This has been, I was like, wait, we haven't had 7 issues of storyline, but it's been going into the solo books. I remember we talked about this. It's all coming back. Now let's talk about the main action. It's really the new Warriors sort of leaping into action. It has, here we go. Alex Power, which I did not realize until we clicked record today. All day yesterday, I was like, because the first time you seen, they're like, hey, this dude was able to teleport us through molecular movement. And I was like, way to go, Cannonball. I thought he was I thought he was Cannonball. Wrong again. I should have paid attention last episode. We have Turbo.
Yes.
Correct. All right. Yes. You know me, I'm mixing them up. Of course, we have Dark and Dagger and Hawk. See how I put a whole other superhero there. Dagger with no cloak, and I can't remember why he's not here. You're gonna have to help me out with that maybe later on. We have Hindsight Lad, and then we have who I like to call random superhero name generator character Bandit. Good old Bandit. I don't like that name. It's like too basic. It felt like Fabian had like 2 minutes. Like 2 minutes to go. What's your dog's name? Bandit. There you go.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think Bandit is a name that a black man would have chosen. Like, okay,
I mean, you would know better than me.
Like maybe like outlaw. And gangster's way too on the nose. Can't go with gangster. Yeah. Right. But
Thuggish Bone is right there.
Possibly. But then he'd have to have an Uncle Charles who have to pass away tragically. In any event,
you're burning up all the lyrics I know to that song.
I'm gonna go with another joke as well because Matt Passo says Barry White, is that like an ensemble based Barry White cover band? Only if they're all Caucasian. That's the only way that works.
Okay, I gotta jump in now. I did a cruise once. I did karaoke on the cruise, and I sang "Practice What You Preach" by Barry White on the at the karaoke night. And before it started, I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Barry White," and I got a rousing applause for my Very White as opposed to Barry White. Anyway, back to you.
Got it. Okay, all right. We're full of great stories here. By the way, Jason Lady says he can send his Jason Lady stir fry recipe.
I mean, we'll make it.
Bring it. We are intrigued. And Linkovich said he would have to spell bandit in a cooler way. And then Jason Lady tried to help, but that kind of looks like the way that let's say certain Texas people would spell their babies' names. That's my baby bandit.
You're just on tonight, aren't you?
Apparently, I blame it on it. I had some jerk chicken, partly turned into a jerk here. Oh, we have a new person. I don't think we've ever had William Woodall come on to the show before. So welcome, William Woodall. Says they should have just given Johnny Quest a wrist-mounted crossbow.
I'm not against the idea, William. Not one bit.
All right. So, did you describe what you think about the cover?
We described the cover. Just an action shot of the new Warriors. I like it. I like it because it's a good reminder, which I needed clearly because I read it last night and I couldn't figure out who that blonde guy was. But when I pulled this up and was ready to start the show, I went, that's Alex Power. And so, this was a good refresher of who is going to be on the team. I can't quite make out what is going on behind them. Like, it looks like lettering. Does it time? I think it says time and time. Yeah, it says time and time again. That's what
it does. Yeah. It's. I was like, hopefully there's not anything going on behind them. Now that you make me look, though, they did a very cool light effect with Dagger at the end of both of her hands. They kind of had like a cascading light effect, and that looks really cool. And I do think it was a proper time to show an introduction. And since you mentioned it, I won't take too long, but in the Nova and the Night Thrasher issues, Night Thrasher came first, then followed by Nova to come into the New Warriors. At some point, if they didn't explain it here in 49, what basically happened is they, Hindsight Lad asked both Cloak and Dagger to join the team. And Dagger said, yes, absolutely. And Cloak was like, eh. And Dagger was like, dude, they saved your life once before. And Cloak was like, eh. You go do your thing, I guess. I'm not really a team guy. So other than me and you, so and he skedaddled.
He should have rethought that. He could have been like coolest black guy character name on the team easily.
Maybe Bando was whispering in his ear, "You can't come here, bro. They don't need you here, bro."
Is a cool name. That's all I'm saying, especially when he teams up with Dagger. So basically, what I'm saying is Bandit needs to team up with a dude named Smokey.
It would almost be too on the nose, but that said, like if they did a Friday crossover with the New Warriors,
there you go.
It's right there.
Hollywood, we've given it to you once again.
There you go. But other than that, good cover. Like the light effect. It's funny that they put Hindsight Lad on the team, even though Carlton definitely had a hand in putting it together. But you got to think he ain't running nowhere. Like that just. Okay. All right. So 1 to 10 nightsticks. What would you rate the cover, Jared?
I like it. I don't remember who. I can barely see it. Who drew it? It's Malstead. Derek. I can see. Okay, so it is the usual crew.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's different, and it is the new Warriors that has a funness about it. I'll go with an 8 on it. Yeah, I like it at an 8.
I'm fine with an 8 too. Because it's Derek. And after reading Nova, and like I'm telling you, just in both Nova and Night Thrasher, both of these issues leading up to this one, Jared, were were Fabian Niciesa's last issues on both books. And he cited a couple of things. He said, my workload is way too heavy because, as Scott O'Neill would probably say, like he was writing half of the books for Marvel at the time. And so there was that part of it. And the other part of it is that he had a kiddo. So like, he's like, between the kiddo and like, I've been writing too many books, I got to dial back. And so for Night Thrasher, eventually Kurt Busiek took over the book. At least that was the plan. I don't know. I know it didn't last much longer, but Kurt Busiek took over the book, and Chris Marinan took over the writing duties of Nova. And I was supposed to describe like what happened in the books. It's basically a continuation. Like they slowly advanced the main storyline, but then the other parts of the storyline involved the rest of the Warriors. Night Thrasher was at the end of a hangman's noose, but he had like, he still had his suit on, had a knife ready, pulled it out, beat the dudes up, the slavers, and essentially he wanted to go back and basically go raise the earth on every plantation that he could see. And like the runaway slave basically convinced him, was like, that's not really a smart idea anyway. Like how are you you can't free everyone, but you can start, by freeing one and helping me out. And it turned out, it seemed like that dude was going to be like a ancestor of Dwayne Taylor's, because he shared with the guy that his name was Taylor, passed that on to him. Namorita Chimera basically found a middle ground between the two warring factions and said, hey, both of you need each other in order to form a unified Atlantis. That happened with him. With, who am I forgetting?
Speed?
Not Speedy. Speedy was in this book. I am forgetting Firestar. Firestar, she basically convinced, she convinced the witch basically to follow the wants of the coven and stay hidden in the shadows, because the big bad witch that was trying to tempt her basically wanted to go out and rule everyone. And she's like, that's not what your coven wants to do. You should listen to what your coven wants to do. And so that happened. And the last one was Nova. Duh, the book's it was a Nova book where Nova basically got some help augmenting his powers and found like a Stargate in his time and he went through the Stargate in order to try to find a way to jump back to present day to come back and save the Warriors. So that was and one more, Rage. Rage was kind of in a similar storyline of Night Thrasher, and like basically he wanted to take some slaves back to the village, and the village, like, it was this complex. It wasn't complex, but the village was like, no, we don't want them, and we're gonna like give them back to the people that we traded them to and everything. And so he just stayed out of it. But he kind of learned and matured that basically there is like very little black and white, that a lot of life is shades of gray. So that was his big lesson learned. I think I covered everybody. If I forgot somebody, I'll bring it up. But I know I can remember those off the top of my head from reading the books.
I watched Airwolf. It was pretty good. All right.
That was a wobbly helicopter. But
it was a good sound effect, though. That was top tier LBC sound effect. Not going to lie.
All right. So let's see. You described the cover. We talked about it. We rated it. I guess I should read the synopsis of this book. Oh, wait. You didn't read the cover credits, though.
Yeah, we got to do creative team. I just brought the banner up, realized it too. I'll go ahead and do it. Let me do it. All right. This is New Warriors number 49. Its on sale date was May 24th, 1994. Cover dated July of 1994. The story is by Fabian Nicieza. Pencilers are John Chop. I like saying that. Guy Dorian. Derek Robertson. Inks by Timothy Zahn, Larry Malstedt, and John Stokes. Colors are by Robbie Bush. He breathes in, he breathes out, he breathes in, he breathes out. The letters are by Chris Eliopoulos. That's what I'm going with. And editor is Rob Tokar. Thanks, Mike's Amazing World.
You see, I laugh at your 90s references. Not one person is giving me a laugh for my time and time again bits from Counting Crows, though. But you know what?
I'm not the guy for that. I'm so
I know you're not. A couple of ratings. You missed some pretty good stuff. You did.
I've been catching up. I find them at the yard sales. I listen to them. I found my love for Timmy T. What more do you want?
No, that doesn't count. If you go back, if you ever see the Counting Crows album, August and Everything After, I highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic album. As far as his cover, Matt Passo said he gave it a 7. Has a fun trading card feel to me. Would have liked something a little different in the center. Linkovich also gave it a 7. Says I'm feeling a 7 too. Jason Lady gave it a 7 and says I give it a 7 too. A good showcase for this hodgepodge of characters and nice hero poses. And they were talking a little bit about Darkhawk too, and just saying that he appeared. Darkhawk appeared in the Loners series, which was a great series. Is that the series where they were plucked out of time? Help me out with that, Eric. I vaguely remember something about it. That's it. That's all I got. And Eric Porter also mentions, though, that Darkhawk's appearance in Nova issue 17 was epic. It was a secret invasion crossover because Nova has continued to have books throughout this time frame. So, at least not all of the New Warriors have been banned. For that matter, Night Thrasher is on the team right now, too, I think. No, Night Thrasher is on an Avengers team, and Firestar is on the West Coast Avengers right now. And Auburn Elvis came into the chat. So there's that. Welcome, Auburn Elvis. And he thinks that Alex Powers' jacket is terrible, but someone else thought it was fantastic. I think it was Jason Lady. I don't know where I stand on that.
I'm just glad I figured out who he was.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad jacket. And anyway, you read it and you noted that the cover price jumped from $125 to $150, though. Steven Sons of taking a quarter out of our hard-earned pockets, but nonetheless, the title of this book is Cornerstones, which is a part of the Time and Time Again storyline, part 7. In the penultimate issue of the Time and Time Again storyline, the new team of New Warriors travels to a Sphinx converted Egypt to find the aforementioned Sphinx in order to get their friends back. They are hopelessly outmatched. Can they get the job done? Kind of.
Maybe with a little help at the end.
Maybe with a little help in the end. So,
all right.
Jared is going to bring up some issues. Jared's going to bring up some images from the book.
I'm bringing up issues too. Don't you worry about it.
Go for it. Issues or images, either one.
Either one. All right. We will start with the double page spread that comes after the first page every time. I'm a little confused about I get it that this is the whole Sphinx, and I'm still not real sold on the Sphinx as a villain. He's just not my kind of guy, but we got to do something to get from point A to point B. And this is a cool drawing of sort of the hyper, the Egypt out Egypting itself with Egyptianness that they drew.
Yeah.
Am I done? Am I not supposed? Who's the guy in the jacket in the foreground?
I don't think that's anyone in particular. That's just
because I can't help but think that looks like a Nova symbol on his back of his jacket.
Kind of does.
And I can't
deny that.
I was like, is that Nova kind of in the crowd? Like, he's got the longer hair, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that's Nova.
Anybody in the chat help me out? Is it just a guy, or am I reading too much into it? That was really my only question. This is a setup piece, so go ahead.
Yeah, I believe so. It was just the guy. Welcome to Auburn Auburn. AU Kathy, our MVP. What happened in the book was that Sphinx, since he has all this power, basically turned all of Egypt back into what Egypt would have, been had it, continued to be the Mecca of Earth. And so, like, that's what this is, a basically redaction and reboot of Egypt as a whole. That dude, I believe, is just the dude. I don't think it's anyone that is actually related to the story.
Fair enough, because I never did come to a conclusion. You got my best guess already.
Scott O'Neill, who just joined the chat, says, I thought it was a vaguely Egyptian hieroglyph / sun god kind of symbol. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody germane to the book.
Nobody Tito either.
Mm-mm.
All right. And so that kind of rolls into our setup for the story. And this is where the new warriors show up in the new Egypt. And there's a bit to like here. Not only does it kind of give you a refresh on who the players are, but there's an ongoing bit, and I think it starts on this page. And if it doesn't, it starts around here somewhere. And it basically is Bandit constantly giving Hindsight Lad crap, and Hindsight Lad refusing to call him Bandit. He will only call him, was it Danielle or something?
Danielle, yeah.
And that to me was hilarious.
This started off of either in the Nova or Night Thrasher, where they did a very quick vignette, and where he kept calling him. He was calling Hindsight Lad Carlton, and since he was calling him Carlton and not his name Hindsight Lad then retaliated by just calling him Danielle instead of
it's pretty funny.
Bandit. So yeah,
it's made funnier because it's one of those things where if any member of this team decided they had enough of Hindsight Lad, they just whomp him. He has no skills or abilities other than his leadership skills are really coming through in these issues, which is fun. I like that. I
mean, in a fight physically, he was about as good as Professor X ever was.
Unless it was a mind fight, I guess.
Right, unless it was a mind fight. Right. So he had some. Let's not take you down that road. He has some good ideas. It was the Nova issue that preceded this, where he's like, it's like, because they were trying to recruit Cloak, and Cloak was like, nah, I'm out. And they're like, well, we needed Cloak because Cloak was going to teleport us across the world. He's like, don't worry, Alex Power can do it. And Alex Power was like, I can.
What the hell did you say to me?
I can what? So you have to give Hindsight Lad credit, because he's like, yeah, based off of the powers that I know that you have the ability to do this thing. So
yeah.
What can you say? Welcome to the show, Dark. I've been saying dark all issues.
Doc Strange.
Doc Strange. Thank you, Doc.
Our boy Billy Delicious. Jason Lady points out something that I also noticed. Something Jared makes comics every about 5 years. That there's an odd panel here that totally focuses on Lady Sphinx, but she says nothing. It doesn't really add a ton to what's going on. It really feels like there was something that was planned to be there that they decided not to go with.
Yeah, maybe.
Or the letterer Iliopoulos, I think is that dude's name, just missed it, just whiffed on that, that one or something. I don't know. But it didn't mess up the story.
You're right. It didn't mess up the story, but to me, it's kind of indicative of, and of course I understand, but I wish I knew. And I don't know Fabian that well to ask him, but something was going on here.
There's a lot of hands in it. And
Yes. It was, it wasn't quite the many hands situation, but it was close. I mean, if you need 3 pencilers to take care of a book, they sort of mentioned they were doing a showcase, but they had already decided at this time who was going to take over Derek Robertson once he left, a gentleman by the name of Richard Pace. But it just, something about this thing felt very piecemeal, very similar to Child's Play in a way. Welcome to the chat, Tony Pennington, by the way.
Indeed. All right. I will bring up.
who doesn't like Hindsight Lab, by the way.
That's unfortunate. He's really growing on me. He really is. I mean, he pretty much put this whole thing together, you know, and you got to love that.
Yeah.
All right. As I said my piece on this last time, and I thought we were done with it, but no. Our boy Fabian has to scrape that angst barrel and get every ounce of angst he get. Like, I completely got what he was doing last time, and I thought it ended on a cool and interesting note. And here it was like 3 or 4 pages of like the same, like really the only takeaway, and it seems to be the only takeaway that everyone is learning based on your synopsis of the single books is using your powers and your abilities and your strength ain't changing people. You can't. No, that's it. Like like that seems to be the lesson they're all learning. But I'm so burned out on the. I mentioned this last time, and Fabian keeps going in this direction. It feels like he has a successful book, and then he's getting more books at Marvel, and he does that thing that a lot of writers do. Go, I have this power now, and I have this scope now, and now I'm going to attack all the social issues that are on my mind. And every writer does that, so I'm not upset at that. I mean, I grew up watching Star Trek and Quantum Leap. They're chock full of social issues, right? But at some point, sometimes it overpowers what should be a fun story, and I just keep getting that vibe from him. I mean, I got it. I got it, Fabian. Like this for Justice, man, his history is jacked up. He's never allowed a happy day. You know, he goes back and finds out that his dad basically decided not to be gay to make his dad happy, which continued the circle of violence. And I'm drained, man. I am drained on it. I'm drained.
Before I get to that, I missed Silhouette.
Well, she's like that.
And sure enough, and maybe it was why you brought, because Silhouette's situation was that she found out that she was back in, I'm going to blank up, the temple that held.
Yeah, temple. Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
And so, she basically found out that she was face to face with her grandmother, who was a 5-year-old Thai at the time. And so the dilemma that Silhouette had was that whole phrase of I don't know whether YouTube or flagged this or not, but would you hit a baby Hitler in
classic conundrum.
Right, the classic conundrum. She dropped Ty in the well. She was like, bye-bye.
What the what?
I don't know how they're going to get out of that one, but it was like.
So, damn it, Fabian.
Silhouette dropped her butt. And I was like.
No.
So, the answer, Jared, I mean, there's a reason that question is a dilemma, right? About would you Hitler, in the crib? Some people would say, without a doubt, yes. Some people would say, no, that's monstrous and barbaric. You never know what that person's going to become. And so, sure enough, I clumsily segged my way back to this justice situation. And it echoes a decent amount of what you said. He tried. He didn't use active force, but he sort of tried to physically bully his granddad into changing his mind, and then realized that no, I'm doing exactly what they did. And so, to me, at least the happier part of a admittedly sad story was that Vance at least understood where his dad came from. That his dad came from a place of hurt, which is, of course, I could only imagine that's just a terrible thing to find out about your father, but he at least grew to have an understanding of it. And he grew, and I'll see whether or not they pick up on this trend a little bit more in the future. I don't remember that he's like, I want to make sure that children don't get hurt like this again. I want to be a person to end the cycle of all of the hurt that I have personally been through. So there's some positivity that did come from it, and a little bit more positivity than kicking them MF off of like Silhouette did. Silhouette, she straight up dropped her. It shocked me. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, Scott O'Neill, just in case you wanted to go and read it, Jared says, reading Justice for Balance gives closure to that whole generational angst thing. Jared,
I don't know if I can make it.
I'll make sure to get that hardbound for you.
I picture myself with like a long black cigarette holder, and a beret, reading it like, oh, I mean, if it gives good closure, then that's great. But it's just like, oh man, it's been too much angst for me lately. But that's enough.
Point made. And it was a decent amount of angst. And the tie thing really threw me, and I want to know what comes of it.
So messed up.
Yeah, she like no, you evil. Bloop. Anyway, next panel, please.
Woof. All right. Next panel is the speedball thing he's got going on in Speedball Land, and he's kind of learning to control it. But I think you mentioned in the chat that this is going to go nowhere.
Sadly. First of all, when I got to these pages and saw that Derek drew them, breath.
Oh, they're the artist killer. Yeah.
Breath of fresh air. Like, oh my goodness, Derek and Larry, that was their combination once they got clicking, rivaled Mark Bagley and Larry Malstadt. That's how much I think of it. It is, he just, at this point, he knew these characters. And so, the point of this, Speedball realized that he was trapped in a universe literally of his own making. And he had this one ball of time. It's like, apparently this is an answer to a lot of things that happened when I dropped in the goop and he swallowed it and found out what happened. In the moment that he was dropped into the goop or whatever, what was supposed to happen is that he found out that he died. And this was basically a remnant of Robbie Baldwin. But they didn't go to that storyline. Not really. But I say that, and sure enough, Eric Porter says, I can't spoil it, but I do believe the Speedball storyline does go somewhere starting in issue 68. Vague memory of it. And we got a while to go to it. So, yeah. Scott O'Neill's joke, by the way, was on what he found out was it showed him the moment where Silhouette.
I can't with that. I just.
Dark. I'm not even going to read it. But yes. That is what was going to happen with Speedball, but they sort of, you know how that happens sometimes when storylines switch. But even in the credits of this issue, they once again say that Speedball's story is going to come to the fore as of issue 54, which to me says that Fabian was still planning on writing at that time. And I know his last issue was 54, and I don't think it had anything to do with Speedball. So I'm just, something happened. And like one day, like I have to find out, or just, I don't know, find out if Fabian's in Charlotte and I ask him out for a drink or something. And like, you can tell me, I won't tell anyone. Wink. So yeah, that is, Scott, one more time, he says, the original plan was to reveal that the kinetic energy in Speedball 1 killed Robbie Baldwin. The Speedball everyone knew was pure kinetic energy that had been imprinted with Robbie Baldwin's memories and personality. But they did not go that route.
I will just add pure energy. That's for all my Information Society friends out there. And I'll also add that you covered Balls, Goop, and Swallow. And I did fine. You
were probably just sobered up by the whole tie.
I mean, Juliet Foxtrot Charlie. That's what I have to say about that. Are you kidding me? All right, I got to move on. The more I think about it, the weirder it's going to get. All right, let's go to this next page. Okay, so the new Warriors kind of get to square off against Sphinx. Dude Sphinx.
Dude Sphinx.
And, you know, there's a couple 3 pages of this battle to pick from, and I just kind of picked a random one, probably because I like Dagger and I like Dark Hawk a lot. But yeah, this is going down, and the interesting takeaway to me from the battle is there was points where I can't remember who it was. It might have been Alex Power, like gave him a swift kick to the chin. He was like, "Oh, that was well met, my friend," you know, and all this. And there seems to be like a few times where somebody even brought it up, like, if you're all knowing, how are we able to like land hits and stuff like that? It seems like there's an opportunity there that he's not quite what he thinks he is, or something like that.
Something like that. And they kind of talked about it. In Nova Night Thrasher, like, while Sphinx was kind of, you know, he was doing a few things with his power, he kind of seemed contemplative about the whole thing. And like, okay, I got the power, but something's not right. And sure enough, on the first page that you brought up, I'll read it, taking off the old glasses to do so, says, but somewhere deep inside the dark recesses of this hollow man, there is an echo growing louder with each passing moment. And it says, your house of cards will crumble under the weight of its own illusion. And what will you find inside of that fractured shell? Nothing. For you are your own creation, an empty soul. So can you imagine, you know, you got all these powers. I was looking for this power, and, you know, I got this power that I've wanted for centuries and centuries, and I finally got it. And you got the powers, and your powers are like, you ain't ish. I'm all seeing, all knowing. What mysteries can I find out about myself? Boo, you suck. Boo. Like, oh, really? That's it. Something's going on. And sure enough, as Albernella's mentions, he says, Bandit brought it up. Bandit did. Him and Hindsight Lad had a discussion about it, of like, they're like, the only reason we're here is because he wants us to be. Why?
Yeah, I think you mean Danielle, by the way, but yeah. That was very funny to me. And Dark Hawk had a lot of funny lines in this one too. He's probably one on this page I have up, but I can't read that from here. He had a lot of very, very, again, Winston from Ghostbusters quips, like the reality guy. Like,
yeah.
Everybody else is on a fun adventure, but, you know, Winston and Dark Hawk are always like, whew. You know, this, you all know this is real, right?
Yeah, and I appreciated his realism behind that.
It cracks me up.
He says, "I knew it was going to be one of those jobs."
I knew it.
And sure enough, like, and I also wanted to mention it because I think it's important. Like, one, I thought it was funny that Sphinx was like, "Oh, girl, you had like centuries to put this team together. This is the best that you can do." to which, if I were the Warriors, I'd kind of be like, hey, we're trying. Stop it.
She had to work against the editorial board at Marvel and the characters they would let her use. It was up to her. She'd be like, okay, I got Wolverine, you know, I got the Hulk.
Best I can do is Bandit.
Do you mean Danielle? Oh, man. All right. One more page and we'll call it a day.
Gotta be the last one.
It's gotta be the last one. Got my boy coming out and he's like, Booyakasha, I'm here to ruin your whole day. I mean, it's okay for those of you who are listening, not watching. The final page is really cool. It's Nova, and he's flying out from, I guess, you know, Dimensional Panel X finally, and he says, "Guess who's back, Sphinx?" Like in big, bold, brassy letters, and like because the Sphinx, you can tell from the background, he's kind of laid out everybody. Yep. They're not doing well, but like here comes Nova. Like, today's the day, son, and it's very exciting. and the art is good. This feels like it might be a Malstead and Derek as well.
That's my guess.
Good. It looks good.
Anytime that like the artwork were just like, oh, it was probably Derek. And I hate to say that, like, I'm not trying to down anyone else, but like it would be the equivalent of like somebody asked you to play pickup basketball, and then it was like you, and it was me, and then it was like Michael Jordan. Okay, let's not go Michael Jordan. Let Dominique Wilkins. How about that? Either way, someone is gonna look at that as like, okay, one of these three is really, really good. It's not you, Jared. No,
I can poop it up.
But it's not me either. It's the guy who can still windmill dunk at freaking 50 years old, right? Like, I mean, this is like, as soon as I saw this, I'm thinking it had to be Derek too. Just like, I mean, because it's just bold. It's, you know, it's audacious. It's really cool. And there are a couple of people
by the page. You got to give them the last page, don't you? Don't you have to?
Yeah, I agree. You have to. I mean, especially if you want people to be excited about issue 50, other than it being issue 50. Well, guess what? Nova was trapped back in time, and he found his way back, and he's the first one to, you know, find his way back. I don't know how the other guys and girls are going to find their way back yet. I honestly have no idea. So we're going to see. And by the way, let's see. Both Scott and Jason had a similar comment of, Scott says, when in Derek doubt, count the teeth. And
That's funny. Funny.
And Jason said, if there are at least 75 molars, it's Derek.
You guys are out there just writing the riffs, I see.
So yeah. It is good. I like the fact that Sphinx is surprised, but to me, honestly, I think a part of him is happy, like, because something has told Sphinx, you know, a person who is as near omnipotent as you can find, that whatever you got going on right now, dude, this ain't it. This is not it. Like, you did all of your pursuit of power, and I think they even mentioned at some point that basically, you know, like, just having all that pursuit of power is one thing, but like it has to be counterbalanced with like love and hope and everything. And right now, Sphinx has none of that. All he has is the power. He doesn't have love. He doesn't have hope. And I guess if there's a grand story to be told, is even the most immortal beings, you know, in this world or others, like, you can't just have power. You've got to have a little bit of love and hope to go along with it. Maybe not.
I have two thoughts on that. Well, sure. One random thought and one thought on that. Well, three thoughts all. Anyway, first of all, Dagger, she even goes unconscious sexy. I mean, look at that. But going back to what you were saying about the Sphinx, now I believe I've learned from this podcast, if I'm not mistaken, that Sphinx really kind of comes from the Nova books. Like, correct. He's kind of a Nova villain. And, you know, you said something like he's almost maybe happy that Nova shows up. And that makes sense, too, because it's like nothing feels right. Oh, here's my nemesis, dude. Finally, some normalcy, you know, like this is at least something I know. I fight this guy. Yeah. Okay. It feels grounded to me. So maybe there's that in there. Seriously,
you remember,
Dagger. Seriously, Dagger, though. Come on.
So
I fell over again.
To finish the quote that I had started reading from those first pages, it continued, and these were the Sphinx's thoughts. He says, and you will always need something more to feed that barren void. You will always need the duality of light, life, and hope to sustain your eternal march through time. So what he's learned, or what he was told in his omnipotence or omniscience, whichever one you want to use, is that power alone isn't going to do it. He needs something more.
In some weird way, I'm making an analogy to Mjolnir, the super powerful hammer that means nothing if you don't have pure heart and noble intentions.
True. Yeah. For absolute certain. Heck, I can't think of a better way to end. We are at part 7 of 8 of this storyline. Looks like Nova is back. And And you got Nova Standing and Alex Power, two powerful foes. Looks like they're about to have a pretty big fight on their hands, especially if we can get the rest of the Warriors back. I don't know how that's going to happen. Is there anything that you want to see in issue 50? Anything, or do you have any excitement, or are you looking forward to reading it?
Okay, I am, and for one reason and one reason only, to be honest, because as I read this one last night, and I'm going to admit it was a slog. I've had fun talking about it. I actually brought this graphic to use during the discussion today, but I'm not this grumpy anymore. I thought I was going to need this a lot more than I would today, but I ended up not, because the chat's great and talking it out with you helps. So this one was very sloggy to me because I'm just like, I'm not a Sphinx guy, and I don't really care that much. Like, who's that X-Men dude that's also very Egyptian? Because I keep kind of going back to like this. He feels like he's the same guy. Is that Apocalypse?
Oh, Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's Apocalypse. I just feel like it's kind of like the same guy, you know, and I have a hard time getting on board with the Sphinx thing. And then, of course, I have aired my grievances 2 episodes in a row now about the just like, oh my God, can Vance get a day off, please? Can we all get a day off, please? So it was sluggish until that page. Like, I didn't like, I like Nova, but I didn't realize that there would be a point where I'd be excited about Nova. And I was like, I'm excited about Nova. And I mean, there's Dagger, who I like. I really like Hindsight Lad going from an absolute joke to being productive and in a leadership role and having the heart that wants to save people. Like, that's awesome. So that is moving forward, and I'm interested in that. And I don't mean this as negatively as it sounds, although I will admit there's a dash of negativity in it too. I am ready to move on from Fabian. I'm ready to see the next writer, which is coming soon. But you said this is like 54, so we got a little time. So I don't want that to sound awful. Like, screw this guy, I'm done with him, because he's built something good. His pieces and parts are very good. But I think he was ready for a different flavor. You know, kind of like Transformers, when you're excited about the Furman era.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't know whether I'll be firmened up or if I'll be let down, but we'll find out.
And I think you'll like Evan Skolnick. In that, like, I remember reading, and of course I got, Scott to back me up, that one of the reasons that Tokar's the editor, right? Yep. One of the reasons that Tokar went with Evan Skolnick is that everyone else, when they gave their pitch to the New Warriors, was like, okay, first I'm going to kill off all the New Warriors and bring in my own team. And they're like, no, no. And Evan was the only one who had a plan to to continue the story of the New Warriors. Now, if I'm thinking about this, and I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, I think in some ways you could divide the New Warriors into 2 segments. And people always talk about how 1 through 25 were like seminal New Warriors episodes.
Concur.
And to me, that was the story of Night Thrasher. You could almost argue that 26 through 75 is the story of Nova. And just keep that in mind. Because one of the characters that you can say without a doubt that has grown the most has been Nova. He grew some in the first 25, but these last 25 or 24 issues, he has grown a lot. And one of the things I appreciated is, like, he was thrown into a time where a future version of himself wound up failing. And he's like, I've got to be able to use my powers better. I have to take on more responsibility. And you hear that, and that's not something that a dumb jock says. That's somebody who is maturing and wants to reach their ultimate potential does. And sure enough, a part of the Nova storyline was he admitted, he's like, the future Nova told him, he's like, you have everything. You have the power in you to get back to where you need to go. You just have to believe it. And that's what sort of fueled this. And so sure enough, he's coming back and he's triumphant. So who the heck knows what he's going to throw at Sphinx? But he's got the power to go toe to toe with someone that's darn near omnipotent. And that says a lot about Nova and where he's come from.
And not even from a power point of view, but we've talked about this, and I remember bringing up early in our podcast series is he's the guy who's had the book since the 70s. He's an elder statesman of this team, and we've seen him step into that more, and like you said, be less of a jock and be more of a leader and a statesman, because it's, in a way, it's kind of ridiculous for a guy who's been along in an intergalactic battling as much as this guy has to, be, kind of lost without Night Thrasher. Like, no, dude, like, it should be very easy for you. But again, to defend my own argument, he's more of a solo hero. He hasn't had to organize.
I'll add another part of it. As two veterans, like, man, sometimes, like, if you had a period of time in your life where you had to be all gas, no brakes.
Oh, 100% verified.
Maybe you're okay with just brakes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. My first job after the military, which was shortly after coming back from Iraq, they were like, I was just the training guy at a small contractor unit, just taking care of the training records. And someone got a hold of my resume and records. It was like, oh, you were an officer in the Air Force. You served overseas. Hey, you want to step up and be a maintenance supervisor here in a bigger role? And it's like, no, I don't want to be responsible for anyone ever again. Period. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
hear you on that.
Yep. Tony with the cold water, it says Eric Larson might have erased all that Nova development in the solo series by giving him a fast food job. Not really, but I know that was kind of Eric Larson's point, though, was to try and go and erase Fabian's work, and I think that was in very poor taste. In any event, we should move on, Jared. Whoops. I'll read that.
I haven't read that, but here's my response. Eric, I don't want to go too deep on tangent, but Eric is good at doing the fast food. Fast food's a great way to say it. Sort of the Kung Pao Zip version of that hero,
Yeah.
With his fast pencils and all that. But sometimes dude's been around long enough where he needs more. Anyway, we don't need it. Let's talk about Warriors and Warriors.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Warriors and Warriors.
Already got 7 comments. So
yeah, people in the chat are like trying to keep us on schedule. Like, okay, guys, it's time for Warriors. So let's keep these as brief as possible. I'll tell you what, I'll just shoot mine quickly. My Warrior's got to be, even though he's only in the last panel, it's got to be Nova. Like, to get me excited about that.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, let's go. My Warrior. I mean, aside from the obvious, I can give it to Vance every episode, couldn't I? But I'll take a break and go. And maybe you mentioned it earlier in your recap of all the recaps, which was a lot. What the heck is going on with Namorita Chimera? I have no idea.
Yeah. She resolved her issue back in time, but at this point, it's like, how do they get back? I honestly do not know.
Okay, so they're all sort of stuck in that. Okay, then I'll pick someone then that is in the book, and I'll just say, yeah, the new Warriors. They're not doing well. They got to bounce back with Nova coming in. They did their best. They brought their A game to Sphinx, but they're struggling. So they need help. They need help.
Yep. I will begrudgingly give Warrior to Hindsight Lad. I tell you, this is him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Like they don't like. I could give Warrior to him too because he fell over and was unconscious, even though he never got directly hit with anything. He sort of got like a.
He's playing possum. He's thinking ahead.
Maybe, and then you can't blame him. Like,
I'm totally unconscious.
I'm dead. This is how dead people act. But his plan to get a team of Warriors to get back the original New Warriors so far has at least not failed, and they wouldn't have even have had that if it weren't for him. So I'll give him credit for that. And if I'm worried about somebody, I'll worry about the Sphinx in the sense that, like, I don't know what he's fighting for at this point, and I don't even know if he does either.
That's the problem. He doesn't either. Yeah.
Like he got all of this power. He got everything that he thought that he wanted, and it's very clear that it's not enough. And I'll be interested to see how that resolves. Like, I mean, what does he ultimately wind up doing in order to fill the void that he had in, you know, his heart, his soul, his existence? I guess we'll find out. We had a few comments. Scott O'Neill says, Ultimate Warrior, hindsight lad, he has no powers. He's wearing scrubbing gloves, thermal underwear, and a shower curtain cape, and yet somehow he isn't dead yet. That's true.
I'm totally dead. I'm dead.
Yeah, it's probably because the Sphinx is like, you're not even worth stepping on, dude. Anyway, Auburn Elvis says, Dark Hawk gets my Ultimate Warrior. Dude ain't no dummy.
No, love him.
And he just replied to Scott that hindsight lad might be the smartest member of this version of the team. Jason Lady says Ultimate Warrior Nova. He's back and he's going to kick some Sphinx butt. Heck yeah. And he also says Warrior Speedball. He ate a mysterious ball of energy. Haven't we all, you know, just after a few too many to drink? You know what? I'm just going to keep going. Auburn Elvis says Ultimate Warrior Marvel / Justice. Boy, how many issues can they drag out that side story? That was it. This is the last one.
I don't believe you. I just don't.
And Scott O'Neill says Ultimate Warrior Silhouette. There's a 5-year-old. I'm going to murder that. Beep.
I'm glad I didn't read that, or I'd still be having nightmares about it. Like,
right into the way. Courtney Holland made it. Welcome, Courtney. We're right at the end of it, but you're about to catch us giving our ratings.
And you never have to apologize, Courtney. I got your message, the direct message you sent me on X earlier, even though I haven't responded yet. She was apologizing for missing the last live stream. You don't ever have to apologize. You do what you got to do. We're just happy when you show up. We're happy when you
absolutely.
What was I supposed to do? Rate this thing?
Rate it.
Man, this is why I love the chat and I love the show. If you'd asked me last night, I would have been like 3. Because I was just so burned out on all the things I already complained about. But discussing it with you guys and the folks in the chat really jazzed me up. And I'm going to go from a 3 all the way. I'm going to go all the way to a 7, a 4-point jump from reading it last night to enjoying the discussion, because there is to like here. The Dark Hawk thing. I'm a Dagger fan. I miss Cloak. I wish he was here. The hindsight lad and the Danielle thing was very funny. And then, of course, being excited at the end for Nova, that carried a lot of weight.
By the way, Auburn Elvis earlier did have a good question and says, where's Turbo? Answer.
She got torpedoed.
I have nothing on that. Like, because she's featured here and they even mentioned her. She was in the team meeting, her and the guy Turbo. And they were like, no, we got to have Lady Turbo for this. You know, she's a little bit more proficient. So I don't know where she is. I don't know. If you want to give a rating before I give mine, better go ahead because I'm about to wrap this show up. Jason Lady gave it an 8. He said it's building up to the big conclusion nicely. Believe it or not, Jared, I'm with you. I'm at a 7. And only because like the lingering thing about this is like, even though this is a buildup and this is a buildup to like at this point, the biggest New Warrior storyline, you know, to date, something feels missing. Like the team of whatever Fabian's plans were, and I also know that at this time they were considering. I mentioned this before. I don't know if it was a show that you were on or not. They were going to split the team up into a New Warriors 1 and a New Warriors 2. But they felt that the sales had waned enough on the original book that they didn't think it was a safe bet. Like only a couple 100,000 people were picking up.
Oh, 90s numbers. If only we knew, right? If only we knew.
My goodness. If freaking New Warriors 49 came out and freaking sold 200,000 copies now, oh my God. Like they would have like 38 different reprint versions of it. Like, I mean,
foil
like
covers.
This cover was drawn by Delvin.
I know I'm taking shots at Modern Marvel, but like nowadays they're like, we sold 600 copies of this? Oh, we got a comic.
Right, but I mean, it's not that bad.
I know, I'm exaggerating.
I know you are, man. And but that part of it. They were going to split off into two different New Warriors teams, and it could be as simple as maybe Fabian just got to the point. It's like, man, I'm burnt the heck out too, because like we said, he was writing freaking half of Marvel's books. So, anyways, I'm at a 7. It's an optimistic 7, and I get the feeling that I might homer and be given a 10 next month, but we will know when we get there. I know I'll be sad to say goodbye to Derek, because Derek, boy, he kicked some butt on this comic book. I thought he started off like just really slow, and he didn't, even though it did take him a little bit of time to get used to it. But once him and Larry got together, boy, I would hold that artwork up to any artwork for any of my favorite books that I've ever read. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show. Come back and join us for the next episode where we discuss New Warriors 50, where time and time again concludes, as well as Derek's time on the book, sadly. It honestly is crazy. Like, so, I mean, time-wise, that means we've been doing this for over 4 years. It doesn't feel like it. It does, like, it's just been plugging away, episodically, chronologically, and still just, I'm pulling a Pat. Can you believe it? I'm truly flattered. LONGBOX CRUSADE, you can find us a lot of places. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube. Please tell a friend to like this and subscribe to us. We have a lot of stuff on our feed, and we'd love for you to check it out. Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram. You look for LONGBOX CRUSADE. We're there. We have a Patreon account where we just got 2 new members. So we're up to 52 who have joined our Crusaders Club, and we're truly grateful for every single one of those members. And we love to have more. We have original content that appears on that show first and foremost. You have an opportunity as well to contribute to Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles and some of the other content that we provide on other podcasts. So come along for the fun with us. You can email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. Jared has a phone number going across the screen now, 707-532-LBOX. We would love for you to leave a voice message about this podcast or any other podcast that you'd like to listen to. And with that, Jared, where can you be found?
I can be found on the internet. Back to you, Delvin. I'm on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Yard Sale Artist. It's all at Yard Sale Artist. Delvin.
You can find me on Threads, Delvin Ray. You can find me on Blue Sky, DEERAY1977. And Scott keyed us in and says, Derek gives us an amazing cover and probably the best splash page in the whole series in issue 50. Definitely out on a high note. But Auburn Elvis, mentions that Turbo's on the floor of page 1 of the next issue, but she's not in any of the battle scenes. They forgot about her. Go figure. I mean, but it goes to show, like just a little bit, something a little wonky going on, some things get missed, Anyway, that's it, everybody. See y'all next time. And remember, be a hero to someone, even if it's just to yourself. And until next month, New Warriors, come out to play. Yay. Everybody have a good night.